Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating, it's Sunday, July 21st, 2019. In both the Lynn life and the Jamie body mind, the authorized souls remain only child souls from the deeper, denser dimensions, and all other souls from all other dimensions, as long as the souls are already living by the many rules already given to the search for truth community by wiser minds above all of us. And one of those rules is to be working on the biggest problems of which we have awareness.
That's true.
And if there's a bigger problem that we become aware of, to work on it.
That's true.
Always working on the biggest problems. And one of the really big problems is that truly divine presences keep shutting the portals that come down into the depths because they find us as a collective too unpleasant to work with,
Right,
and
that's true.
demanding and ungrateful and
yes.
selfish and lazy, arrogant,
lazy,
irresponsible, just completely offensive
yes.
to be around and to work with.
That's true.
And they're busy and they've got other things to attend to. And it's like, why would I pay any attention to this planet when you're being so offensive? I've got 80 other planets to work with.
That's right. Those being the words of the higher powers.
Those being the words of the higher powers. Yeah. And the higher powers that are affiliated with planet Earth have not really been reporting the situation accurately to their superiors, and so they keep employing methods that possibly are not a match for the situation. And that probably goes a long way toward explaining the destruction that we see unfolding pretty rapidly these days.
That's true.
It's really unraveling fast, and this is really crucial, friends. We're on such a short timeline to avert complete disaster.
That's true.
It's really happening now. The die-off is happening now. The species extinctions are happening now. The planetary destruction is happening now. This is all happening now, not next year. It's happening right now, and it's incumbent upon each of us to change our ways. And those of us who are interested in God need to become less unpleasant to deal with.
That's true.
Because God isn't compelled to help us.
No,
and when
true.
we're unpleasant to deal with, God doesn't want to help us.
That's true.
And that's a problem, because we need a divine miracle to pull this one out of the ditch. We need a divine miracle.
That's true.
Which has been the basis of this particular effort for a couple decades.
Yeah, that's true.
What now to reopen a portal to truly divine presences? And friends, we've really got to talk about, somebody's saying up there in that some portal is open a tiny bit, and they're saying we've really got to talk about this overpopulation issue.
That's what he's talking about.
And this is a foundational disconnect, and people seem to not be talking about it because it's unpleasant to talk about, or they get bad press when they talk about overpopulation.
That's
but
what he's saying.
We've got to deal with this population issue. Humans are supposed to be between 500 million and 2 billion,
That's
right
true.
in there. And if we can't control it ourselves, if you humans can't control it ourselves, that's what he means by if you guys can't control it yourself, then somebody's going to have to control it for you. And you're not going to like that as well.
That's what he said.
That's what he said. Thank you, Baxter.
Yeah.
So we really have this question of what now to open the portal, to reopen the portal. What now? What now to reopen the portal? Because we need a divine miracle, and it's not going to happen without higher vibrations. And Saul's question, I can't quite tell who's speaking, but they're fully aware of Saul, and they feel like he's a hero.
That's true.
And maybe a role model for them or something. Yes. And the speaker is feeling like Saul is a role model and is saying, his questions are really valid. What is being done on other planets that's applicable to this situation. For example, what other planets have karma delayed until after death, and how's it playing out there?
It opens a hole in the sky.
It does open a hole in the sky. Let's ask it again. What other planets have karma delayed until after death? There are some, and I can see like a graph or a chart
I see
now.
a chart.
Of planets. Oh, and it might be a chart that shows length of delay of karmic cycles, and as correlates with performance in terms of soul contracts and doing what the situation actually calls for.
That's
and just
true.
being a good person and not being a jerk.
That's true.
And that there's some kind of inverse correlation that the longer karma is delayed, the less the soul plan is acted upon, which actually makes sense. Like there needs to be a training program that works to get people to do what they're supposed to do.
That's true.
So may we please have an experiment of instant karma, each of us for ourselves, for Ground Zero Planet Earth, and for all who pass through Ground Zero Planet Earth, each of us for ourselves. Just an experiment of instant karma. Run it for a week. How about that? A week's worth of instant karma for all of us here. Start with the presences with the resources, which for the most part are humans.
That's true.
Start with humans and leave the poor people out of it.
That's
Leave
true.
the people in Indonesia out of it. People who don't have access to electricity and running water.
Yeah.
People who have to go out into the woods to take a poo.
That's right.
Please leave them out of it. Please. And we have an experiment of instant karma, maybe just for a week, for humans with resources.
I don't feel the portal closing.
There's another really big problem that we have here with these fantasy dimensions
That's
of
what
the
they're talking
undead. This is a person who's in Saul's spaceship. I can see the spaceship
that's
bouncing. And these are high quality souls with some courage and willingness to pay a price to be of service, because they come into the turbulent astrals
That's true.
when everybody else says basically, look, I'm busy, and
That's
they're
right.
miserable to work with. They're
The people
ingrates.
down there.
Yeah, those people in Ground Zero Planet Earth are selfish ingrates.
Exactly.
And when they check their stinky attitudes, then maybe I'll have something to do with them.
That's the exact feeling.
And Saul and his team are saying, look, we got to pull this out of the ditch so that we can feel good about ourselves. That's what Saul and his team say. And
Yes.
they're in the astrals trying to make a difference. And they're saying we've got this issue of these realms of the undead who don't know their dead, and so it's not on their list of things to do to go up to God, and there are billions of them with a B, and it's creating a lot of confusion because thought follows thought, and
That's true.
they're seriously confused. They don't even know their dad.
That's true.
So it's making it a lot worse for the living. And everybody seems to agree that we need to get the undead out of here, but nobody seems to really know how to do it on a mass scale.
That's true.
In a way that the undead acknowledge.
That's true.
And so we have the question of what has happened on other planets. What has worked on other planets who have this issue of masses of undead? It can't be unique. We just don't believe it to be unique. And somebody says, what do you base it on? And somebody else says, because you guys keep saying how average Earth is.
Yes, that's
It's
why.
an average planet and an average galaxy, an average universe, just unimportant to anybody except for those who live here.
That's true.
And so this can't be unique. Therefore, it's got to be playing out elsewhere. So how do you guys kill the undead, quote unquote, on a mass scale in a way the undead acknowledge? How does it work on other planets? What do you do?
I don't hear anything.
No, but I think it's possible the portal's still open.
I think it's possible it's still open.
We really want to know. This is really, we're really struggling here. We want to know what is it that can be done about the undead. They're a big problem.
That's true.
Do you guys know there's no upward flow?
Maybe you don't know.
Maybe you don't know that. We also don't have any upward flow. The upward flow started shutting down maybe 50 years ago.
That's true.
And it really started collapsing maybe 5 years ago, give or take. And now there's just no upward flow. And for example, a common instruction to the dying was to find the currents and follow the currents. And when there was upward flow, that would take the dying up to God.
That's right.
And now the currents are the astral currents of grasping and aversion. And so as the dying are finding currents, they're being pulled into either grasping, like grabbing things, stealing, usually it's stealing energy, astral thievery, or aversion, running away, astral cowards.
That's true.
And that neither of those are good and neither of those are divine.
That's true.
Do you know that there's no upward flow? And what has worked to restore upward flow on other planets where the upward flow has shut down? What has worked?
I think the portal is more open.
I have the feeling of presences coming and looking down, like looking down over a balcony or
I have that feeling also.
What has worked on other planets to reestablish upward flow? What has worked on other planets to reestablish upward flow? And what has worked on other planets who are plagued with realms of the undead? It seems to us that those are probably interwoven.
That's this feeling.
Linked issues, that the realms of the undead are causing problems with the upward flow.
That's the feeling.
What has worked on other planets? I do get a sense of the portal being open and of presences looking down.
I have that sense also.
Over balconies.
Yeah, that's true.
And banisters, both.
Banisters also, both of those.
Over railings.
Yes.
And I see safety markers.
I see that also.
What has worked on other planets? Planets that have had karma delayed until after death, how has it gone for them? On other planets that have karma delayed until after death, how has it worked? And then not trying to push for a conclusion, but in your professional assessment, is karma delayed after death a match for a planet that's already got as many problems as not even upward flow? Is that a match? Just asking. With curiosity, I really would like to know.
That's true. Portal's still open.
Portal's still open. We want to be less unpleasant to work with.
Yeah, very much.
Very much. What can we do as individuals and as a species?
That's true.
To be less unpleasant to work with, because we ourselves feel that without a divine miracle, this is going to unravel in the ugliest possible way.
Yes.
And that's sad.
That's really sad.
It's heartbreaking, really. So we would like very much a divine miracle, and therefore we know that we need
to become less unpleasant to work with.
Yes, so that divine presences will open a portal and
That's
keep
true.
open a portal. Like what seems to be happening now is they open it and then say,
oh my God.
And they shut it again, and then they'll open it, and it's many times different faces up above the portal.
Yes.
And they shut it again, they open it, and it's like, I've never heard of you. Who are you? Why are you calling me at 3:15 in the morning?
Exactly. And also you smell like a sewer.
Yeah, you smell like a sewer.
And you're screaming at 3:15 in the morning.
Which is not these two hoslas.
No.
It's what comes through the portal when we open the portal. As they hear, it's like the cries of the damned.
That's what they're saying.
That's how it seems to the higher powers. And so there's a lot of turnover in the connection.
That's true.
What has worked on other planets where there's that degree of turnover in the connection with divine powers? What has worked to turn them around and get them headed back toward looking up to wiser minds above, asking up what now, and then doing whatever it is wiser minds above say to do, when they say to do it, the way in which they say to do it, as if we intend to excel? What has worked?
What has worked? What this feeling could be is the room in the higher dimensions that was listening to it transferred us up.
See,
like,
this is what we were talking about. The
Oh,
turnover in
oh,
the connection.
that's
This
true.
is exactly it. And maybe the thing is that we've been doing this for so many years now.
That's
and
true.
it just keeps happening. So this is part of the pattern.
That's
It's another
true.
day, another room
Wow.
of presences
That's
who
true.
listen and then pass us on to someone else. What has proven to work on other planets where there's that lack of connection? It's like the
Yes.
soul-body disconnect
That's
is
what
now
someone's talking
occurring at the
about.
planetary level.
Exactly.
And so now what? What's worked with other planets with that level of disconnect?
we can feel
and,
there were
and the
other
realms of the
planets.
undead.
That's right.
We think that the realms of the undead is really where to focus. We think that that's a sticking point
That's true.
to a lot of solutions you guys would want to implement.
That feels true.
So what has worked where the realms of the undead have settled in on other planets? What has worked to kill the undead, quote unquote, to get the undead to go up to God?
That's true.
What has worked? This can't be unique. You guys keep saying we're not unique, and therefore we assume that that's true and that we aren't unique.
That's
What
true.
has worked? It just sure seems like there is something that's worked on other planets, because nobody's saying, there's nothing, it's never happened before.
That's true.
And that's how it usually plays out when the ideas are completely wrong. So we think that there are other planets, and therefore there are known solutions. We really think that the lack of upward flow is an enormous problem, and the realms of the undead, that's also an enormous problem.
That's true.
And given that the training program has karma delayed until after death, we wonder if the training program can be adjusted to have the karma delivered instantly so that we can maybe make progress on some of these other topics. Might that be possible? And for each of us as individuals, karma delivered instantly for each of us as individuals
That's true.
at the levels in which decisions are being made. And to start with the presences with the resources, which are humans
That's true.
in the wealthy countries, such as ours.